I was running a session on personal impact once. I think it was Frankfurt. It was somewhere like that. And is that where you're from?
No, I'm from Germany.
You're from Germany. It was somewhere in Germany. And I was working with. There's a physicist in the UK by the name of Brian Cox, which some of you will have heard of. And his sister is somebody's fairly senior in tax at KPMG. And I was working with Sandra, and she stood up and she went, "This is Tim, and by the end of the afternoon, you will want to punch him repeatedly in the face." So that's your experience this afternoon. You're going to get the full works. We are talking today about the fact that there are two sides to spoken communication. There is the content, which is roughly what we looked at over the last hour and a half. How do you build compelling content that will actually draw your audience in? But the other side of the coin is around delivery. You are the medium of the message, and if you are the medium of the message, what can you do to make sure that message comes across in such a way that people go, "Oh yes, I'd actually like to listen to this." So the ingredients that I've given you before is how you take your talk and turn it into a meal that people might actually want to come and join us, meeting, might actually want to consume. And this is about how can you do it in such a way that people will sit up and not fall asleep, although I think 2 people did fall asleep in my last session, but it's all feedback. Wonderful. Who knows the story behind this image? Go on then, Tom, tell us what this is all about.
So Nixon was a heavy favourite to be president.
Yep.
He had better policies, he was a more experienced politician, but so he was quite a heavy lead in the polls before this, but they put him on a TV. This is the first ever televised US debate.
Yes, it was.
They never had one before, and Nixon hadn't really prepared properly, hadn't taken it seriously, whereas Kennedy was slick, sharp, and great in front of the camera.
Yes, it was the first time America got a little bit of taste of the Kennedy style. And Kennedy being basically poolside in California for most of the summer, he was like a bronzed god. You can say that in Greece. And Nixon, on the other hand, had been in hospital for about 12 weeks. He was pallid and pale. He was very unwell. His advisors said, "Richard, you really need to wear a dark suit." He went, "I want to wear the light suit." They said, "You need to wear makeup." He went, "Makeup's for girls." Kennedy took all the advice. And here's the thing, when the polling came in, like Tom says, the polls were overwhelmingly, it was Nixon's night. Nixon was superb. Kennedy rather. Kennedy was superb. It was Kennedy's night, the man was brilliant. And then a few days later, the radio polling came in, and it was a very different story. From the radio polling, they went, it was Nixon's night. So isn't that fascinating? And Nixon was described on the televised debate as being a pallid, bobbing head, which is not really how you want to be described, is it? Pallid, bobbing head. So there is something here around congruence. When we put a message across, you can say it really well. You can say it brilliantly. And Dick Nixon was a fantastic orator. He studied rhetoric. He understood how to put a message across. But there was something about the way he physically delivered the message which actually turned the audience off. So we need to think a little bit about what are some of those signals that we put out there when we present that will either make people go, yes, I believe in you, I'm going to go along with what you say, and other things which are going to make people go, ooh, no, I'm not so sure about that. So I thought we'd play a little game called Whose Passion Is It Anyway? And the idea of this is we're going to break into groups of, how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13. That doesn't break down well. It's mostly groups of 4 and 3. Groups of 3 and 1 group of 4. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're a mathematician, Laura. Come on, 13.
Yeah,
Yes,
number.
that'll do. Yes.
Prime number, Tom.
No, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. My brain's not working right
Brilliant.
now.
Okay.
Groups of 3.
Groups of 3 and 1 group of 4.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And the idea is, in
That's
your
correct.
group of 3 or 4,
It's the
Four
answer.
groups.
I
I'm
know.
an art student.
in your groups of 3 or 4, I would love you to find a passion that one of you has that is not shared by the other 2 or 3. And then the object of the exercise is going to be, you're going to come up the front as a group, and each of you is going to talk about that unique passion as if it is your own. Now, 2 of you, one of you is going to be telling the truth, it is your passion. The other 2 are going to be dirty liars, basically. And the object of the exercise is, can you persuade us that it is your passion? And we're going to be looking out for what I call persuaders and tells. Those things that make us go, oh yes, I believe you, I think you're right. And what are some of those things that you do? We go, oh, I don't think it's you. So the game is, get together with some other people, find a unique passion that is shared by only one of you, and then all of you have to try and sell that passion as if it is your own. Does everybody understand? Wonderful. Can I suggest we stand up and move to different corners and find some friends and uncover some secret passions that you may have. Obviously, unless, are you going to play, Laura? If not,
Yeah.
if you are, then let's swap
Yeah.
4, if not, it's groups of 3. There you go. So find some friends.
Oh, hello. This is gonna be a great.
There we go. Don't be too loud so that other people over here you'll see the passion. Yeah, is it 2 4s? 2 4s and 2 3s. Oh, okay.
And then everything else is standard for us.
I mean,
As in, are we going to share?
Yeah, so
And then we share it.
So Thomas touches on absent. Yeah. So where you get the
Do you know
Oh, okay, so this is one.
Is this clear? So it may well be that Laura's got a passion for absent. You hate absent and you're afraid of heights. So it may be Belle with that should unique passion. You all have to 30 seconds to sell your passion for absent. Just get the idea? Just to be clear that we've all understood. So
Okay, let's not do that one. Let's be fair.
You say you've got passion for absent. You've got terrifying. Hate heights. You don't like absent. You don't like absent. All I want is to talk about passion for absent. Brilliant. You've all got, you understand what your unique passion is. Yeah, so maybe what your passion for absent, the rest of you will talk about your passion for absent. So we'll see what's the one that one of you has.
What do you want? What do we go
Well, your smile is increasing so
Well, is it
I need to put this on the table because it's the same key.
I would say that.
Do you have the AC on? Do you have the AC on?
Just a couple of minutes with that. Those of you who have the unique passion, try and share some details with the others so they can convincingly talk about their passion.
Okay, we're not just making stuff up. Tim, are we using genuine details or are we making things up?
What if it's yours or if it's
Yeah.
yeah? Well, if you're one of the dirty liars, you can make stuff up.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. You just got to do it in a convincing way. Yeah. Have you got a passion?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Have you got a passion? Brilliant.
Yes.
Have you got Andrew? Have you got a unique passion over there?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay. So, are you all in a position where you think you can talk about it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I know what you've chosen.
You've got a unique passion?
You do.
Brilliant. Come on then, let's go back in. Right, who wants to go first? Which group should we have first? Tell you what, guys, as you're up there, let's get you up first of all. This is where ideally I would have my flip chart out so I can capture some of these ideas. But we are looking for persuaders and tells. What are some of those behaviours that make us think, yes, it's you, and what are some of those behaviours that make us think, it's not you? So we're trying to be convincing and persuading. Body language, tonality of voice, stuff like that, what we say, all of the above. Let's have a little go and see what we spot. Right, so I'm going to put the clock on you, 30 seconds, the end of 30 seconds, I'm going to stop you. Tom, can you tell us about your unique passion, please?
Okay, so when I grew up, I lived in Germany, and there wasn't a lot of English TV, but one of the English TV things that I watched when I was younger was Thomas the Tank Engine. And I used to think, that's so cool that it's called Thomas, and I think it used to be named after me. And then when I came back to England, I had a friend called Greg, and I went to his house, and he had this amazing train set. And yeah, loved it, so really found that really cool. And then went on the tube a lot of times, and I was like, oh man, it's so cool that throughout history, so many people travel in different ways through trains. And so that kind of got me interested
And that's time. Andrew, 30 seconds, please. Your unique passion for Thomas the Tank Engine.
No, it's trains.
Sorry, trains generally,
They are
sorry.
the best form of travel. You can relax, you can sleep, you can pray, you can have your quiet time on the train, actually. You should consider that sometime. It's a great way to get from one place to another very quickly. You don't have parking problems. There are discounts for people who are age 60 or older over in my country. And in the past, it has been a great way for remote villages and towns to create access and empowerment. It's a fantastic.
And that's time. And lastly, your passion please for trains.
Every week I travel with train from my hometown to my city where I'm studying now in the university, and trains are super practical and cheaper than a car, where we can travel with friends and have a good time right there. And it's a place where you can have different experience with different people and many interesting conversations with strange people.
Speaking of strange people, what do we notice? What do we notice? Where are you spotting persuaders? Where are you spotting tells? Tells are the things that make us go, I don't believe you. Persuaders are the things that you go, yeah, I'm convinced. Go on then, Jonas.
I feel like there was a lot of enthusiasm in the first one.
A lot of enthusiasm. A lot of passion from Tom. Yeah.
Maybe a little too much.
Okay, so you were saying that's an interesting point, Joe. So if we slightly overbake the energy, there's a danger that we can go, oh, it doesn't feel really, it feels disingenuous if it's too over the top. Interesting.
There's also the address. Like there's one person addressing the crowd and two sort of addressing you.
Yeah. What I call, when we present, what I call stalker syndrome. When we just latch onto one person and deliver it all the way. I feel wonderfully included. And the rest of you are feeling very left out. Poor Peter at the back's crying because no one's made eye contact whatsoever. And it is a really important thing, isn't it? It's like when we stand up to preach sometimes, we look out in the audience and there's one person in the front who's actually smiling at me. And I'm going to address it all to them because they're the only one who looks like they hate me. And the nerves of everybody else going, so it switches us off. So yeah, absolutely. Make sure your eye contact goes around everybody. Divide your audience into 4. Make sure you're really looking people in the eye in each quadrant. Kennedy used to stand at the podium and he would look at people around the room and just connect with them eye contact wise. They used to call it the Kennedy sweep. And people would come out and go, he looked at me. And there's something about making that eye contact that's really powerful. Absolutely. Tom did that. The rest of you, stalker syndrome. There you go. What else did we notice?
Tom also used his stories from his past. The others kind of spoke of trains in general.
Yes. So the more we lean into story, the more persuasive that is. And we did that, if those of you were in the exercise, the session I did on Friday, where I said, can you list the reasons for owning a pet? And we have the list, which is sort of what both of you did. You gave me the list, and Tom gave the story. So the story is always more persuasive, isn't it? What else do we notice?
A lot of hand gestures, particularly from him, a little bit from Sir Andrew, but not quite as many from Nicholas.
And do you find those persuasive or not persuasive?
Well, I kind of agree with Jonas that I felt Tom's were a little bit over the top.
And we know that he's a good storyteller. And he's trained at UCCF, so.
It's exactly like you're trying to catch a train.
Is your gesture connected to what you're saying as well? If you're just doing this.
Expression and like what your body does shows your enthusiasm for what you're saying. But again, it's working out if that's legitimate and like authentic or not.
Yes, because normally it's authentic if it connects to what you're saying.
Yes.
So if I can look, there are 3 points I want to make here. And the first point is this, and actually you gave me a tiny diamond and I caught a massive fish. What I'm saying is relating to how my hands are moving. Whereas if I'm just speaking and my hands are whirling, it's not connected at all. In theatre, it's what we call unmotivated movement. There's nothing behind it. If I'm just wandering around the stage for no particular reason, that's unmotivated, it's distracting. If I'm walking over here because I want to move this chair, that's motivated movements. So gesture is really important. Is it motivated? Then if it's not motivated, maybe that's a tell. What else do we notice? Who thought it was Tom out of interest? Why? Why did you think it was Tom?
Just a feeling.
Just a feeling. Okay. Who thought it was Andrew? It's okay. Why did you think it might be Andrew?
Because it was more relaxed.
Okay. So, go on.
No, he was just more relaxed in sharing it, but it was, but still unsure.
Bit natural and more authentic.
More authentic,
Yeah. Laura, why did you think it was Andrew?
I think similar reasons. Like I did think that the points that he gave were a bit more, even though it wasn't a story. I felt they were a bit more convincing.
So detail can be a persuader. Absolutely. Does anybody think it was? Sorry, I can't see you.
No.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, it's a lot of you are undecided.
It was hard to tell. Wasn't
it is. I haven't got a clue, to be honest. I haven't got a clue. That's always the fun of this game. I haven't got a clue. Would the real train enthusiast please step forward? So here's the thing. We can stand behind the message, but people may not necessarily agree with us. Equally, you can have a message which you can portray and people go, yeah, I'm really on board with that. What we do with our body language, with our voice, everything else like that, our content will either persuade or it will dissuade. Interesting. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Who's up next? Next group, please. Next group.
we can go?
Come on, let's get you on. Wonderful. This is fun. It's just an exercise in life, really. What would Jesus do? Not sure where we're going with this. Right, Laura, can you give us your unique passion? Oh, let me get my timing wand. Hold on. 30 seconds. Let's have your unique passion. Hold on, if I can work my phone. Look at this old boy, can't do anything. Right, on your marks, get set, go.
So I have a unique passion for cooking, and that's because I'm really passionate about hospitality. I think it's really important that as Christians we welcome people into our homes. And I do remember there was one time just before a hen do that some friends came down and stayed with me from like Scotland, so they travelled a very long way. And I purposely made a lasagna for them. It's the first time I'd actually made a lasagna, and they really enjoyed it. And there was something about that just was really heartwarming. And that they appreciated the fact that I'd been able to cook for them, that they enjoyed the food. So it wasn't just the food itself, but it was the community that it made as well.
And that's time. Your passion, please, Jonas, for cooking.
Yeah. Well, I think I've always liked cooking, but what should happen? Sorry. I always liked cooking. I had to do it once a week at home, and I liked it. But it was first when I was like moving from the home that I started. I feel like I got a bad vibe over here.
just ignore them, Jonas. Just ignore them.
Well, I studied theology. That's very abstract. When I come home, I like to make a product, and I can see what I've done. And
wonderful. Thank you very much. And lastly, sorry, I can't read that. Colin, wonderful. Your passion for cooking, sir.
Yeah, so when I was a teenager, my dad was doing better at work, and they took us out a number of times to Michelin-star restaurants. And I loved the food so much that I wanted to recreate it at home. So ever since, I've developed a real passion for cooking and cooked a lot and taken a lot of courses in that.
Great. Brief and to the point. What do we notice? What persuades? What do you think? No.
So, Colin made a very specific statement. He said he'd taken a lot of courses. Now, Colin being an upstanding Christian, I don't think he can laugh.
Right, so when we laugh, we stop believing in what people are saying. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
I don't think he'd lie.
Oh, lie.
I don't think he'd lie.
Okay, so
So he's taken, and I don't understand why you take a number of courses, not just one, a number of courses if you do not like cooking.
is there not a vulgarity about that though? A number of courses. Do we not want a bit more specifics around that? Because if it's a bit abstract, I don't kind of buy it really.
If it's more than 4, he wouldn't remember how many.
Exactly, he loves cooking so much that he doesn't even remember how many he's done.
He's just such a cooking enthusiast.
Well,
I feel you're not taking this seriously.
Well, his story, like his KBM personal story, feels very plausible.
Also,
From childhood, I mean, on.
I don't know.
But
I wouldn't take my
he's
kids to
older
a Michelin-star restaurant. It's pearls before swine.
no
No way I'd waste my money on my kids.
Look at their body language right now. Both Laura and Jonas have their hands in their pockets, which shows they're uncomfortable.
No. Laura, she might have her hands in the pocket, but she'd actually just gesticulated a number of times. She had hand movements that you would have called intentional, that just emphasised what she said. There was real joy and enthusiasm about what she spoke. She made eye contact with some of the audience, though not all.
And very specific details as well within the story.
Yeah.
Friends coming down from Scotland, making a lasagna, stuff that's sticky for those of you who were in the last session. Paint pictures, and we're suddenly in there, and it feels plausible and real because you crafted story around it and you painted pictures for us as an audience. So it probably should be Laura. Whether it is or not is an entirely other matter. Go on.
But she seems like a very enthusiastic person, and cooking seems a little bit too normal for her.
This is just psychoanalysis now, isn't it? I think just move along. Who thinks it was Jonas? Who thinks it was Jonas? That went well. Then why did you think it was him?
I don't. So I thought it was
Just a feeling. No.
Feelings can be wrong.
I didn't really actually think it was Colin. Oh, see, Colin is. Who thinks it was Laura? We're a bit split on this. Okay, interesting. Would the real cooking affectado please step forward? Now, I think it should have been Laura, but again, here's the thing: if you present a message well, people get persuaded. And
Problems are competitive, so
Yeah.
try and play it down to.
But here's the thing: I wasn't convinced it was you because for me there was a lack of detail. When you went, I've done a number of courses. I wanted specifics, and you got. And also, that whole thing about your parents taking you to Michelin star.
That's a kid.
I want your parents. Never been taken to a Michelin star restaurant. Outrageous. Yeah. Okay. Great. Let's have the next group up. Yeah. Let's get you up. This is fun. Wonderful. Who have we got to start with? Is it Becca?
Yes.
Becca. Okay, Becca, your passion, please.
So I went to art college 11 years ago, and I tried out lots of different crafts. And I found that I had a passion for woodworking. All of the other things were kind of a bit too stale, but actually woodworking just gave me something to craft. I love the smell of the kind of burning as you sort of move it around. I just really love really love how tactile wood is, and how connected you feel to nature and how you can transform it into a new object.
Time. There we are. It's a very naughty book. Jonathan, your passion for woodworking, please.
Yeah, as a kid, I used to spend my summers in a summer cottage in Finland, and we don't have a lot in Finland except forests. So first I hated it, but my granddad introduced me to like doing woodworking, and first it was boring, but you know I got something to do in the summers, and I liked having a finished product. So I kept stacking them up, and I still have them at home, and they still remind me of granddad, even though he's gone. But it's nice to have something that you have made yourself.
Yeah, and time, okay, and Kathy, your
I'm
passion.
married to Andrew, so he's abstaining on this one. Yeah. I'm a bit the same. My love of woodworking came from my granddad. I remember his shed when I was young, and the smell and the sawdust on the floor, and playing with that. I didn't like the splinters; they were a bit too painful. But seeing his lathe, this amazing machine, and his chisels, and also the wood itself is just astonishing. You know, working with something that lived for 150, 200 years, and sometimes stuff that's come down in storms.
Peter, your passion for woodworking, please.
Well, my passion for woodworking comes from my childhood because as a child, I found it the easiest material to work with. I couldn't work well with metal or other things. But as I was growing up, I really liked the smell of the wood as I cut it or I play it. I like the color of the wood, different colors I find of the wood. And so nowadays, wherever I go, I try to collect small pieces of wood.
There we go, wonderful. This is a tricky one, isn't it? What do we do?
It's definitely not either of those two. Kathy's
not
we'll get to in the end. And
So
Kathy's
it's
was too,
not Peter or
Kathy's was too
not
polished.
Becca.
She was like, she gave a lot of stories, a lot of detail in the stories, but too much detail. And I think it became unconvincing because I think she was trying to play too much on the story, on the smells, on the things.
I utterly disagree. I
All of
utterly
them had
disagree.
hand movement, and then you could look at their hands if they would be
Yeah.
able to do.
There's a lot of leaning into story specifics around Finland and grandfather, and again, grandfather's workshop with the smell of the wood dust.
Childhood memory.
Yeah, it's olfactory memory. That sense of smell is really authentic and really powerful. So it draws us in. All of a sudden, we're in that woodworking shop. We can smell the wood and the description, the grain, and everything else like that. It's utterly compelling. What do we think? What do we
I
notice?
did love the detail about the finished product.
Yep.
Oh, very good.
This is a serious seminar. What else do we notice?
I would say I feel like the three of you are a little bit nervous Like sticking around, hands all over the pockets. I feel like a calm vibe over there.
I do agree that people seem more relaxed. Yeah.
Okay, so if we think it's truthful, we sort of relax into it, it becomes easier and more authentic.
Yeah.
I know who it is, so I'm keeping out of this, but I think this is a really hard one to judge because I know who I think it should be, and there you go. What do we think? Who thinks it was Becca? I feel sad for you. I thought you were art college stuff. I was persuaded. Who thinks it was Jonathan? Yeah. Who thinks it was Kathy? Oh, again, not as many votes as I would have thought there. I thought that was very compelling with the story and everything. Who thinks it was Peter?
It's all true.
Same Peter.
Interesting. Would the real woodworker please step forward?
Oh.
What do we learn from that? Really interesting. You're just all far too competitive. You're just trying to get it right.
Something else that convinced me was you mentioned cutting and planing and like specific terms that I was like,
Yes.
interesting.
Whereas the rest of you like, I do stuff with wood. Becca just laughed, and there was that sort of sense of corpsing that completely shattered the thought. She's like, you suddenly this, I'm not believing this. Started laughing, and that was
Everything I said was true.
Yes.
But what goes to show is you haven't got long to persuade people that you're genuine.
Yes.
It seems like if you don't get it in that short space of time, they're not. If they don't kind of see you as credible very early.
Yes.
Well, Kathy, I think you're trying to be too persuasive.
No, I think what you did was
true.
genius because you pulled stuff out of your own personal experience, and because of that, you've got that. It's what actors call emotional recall. You're bringing stuff back that you've lived. Your lived experience is coming out, and that becomes utterly compelling. Did you go to Finland as a child?
I'm from Finland.
Did you go to the woods with your grandfather?
No,
You didn't.
lie.
Totally. What's your dead grandfather's true?
I know. I was like, there's no way that's a lie.
Nobody would be sick enough to use that. There's an issue for you later, Jonathan.
Also, interesting thing was that because when I described my passion to them in the group, I mentioned color and smell.
Yes.
And they both use that.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. There was a lot of cross-fertilization.
Yeah, they were well prepped, and it is, but it is the detail that's persuasive, isn't it? When we give detail, we give specifics, we paint pictures for our audience, that becomes really, really compelling. And here's the thing, when your content is good, the hands start moving, the facial expression comes out, we see the smiling, we make the eye contact, all of that then starts to become really persuasive and convincing for our audience. Last group, please. Last group. You weren't expecting this in the seminar, were you? It's all right. I'm making it up. You said you'd have gone to another one. Right. Stefan, your passion, please.
Yeah, well, I think I've always been a bit of a collector. Like I used to collect, like we had like little milk cartons, so small ones with little lids. I used to collect them and had a bunch of them. And I've also done like rocks and seashells and all that kind of stuff. But the latest one for me has been leaves, especially now it's autumn, it's getting dark and all like that. So I sort of collect the leaves and I sort of try and dry them a little bit and sort of leave them a little bit. So keep them around. I like the colour of that and I like keeping them around.
And time. Your passion, please. Your name is.
Yeah.
Your passion for is it leaves or collecting?
It's
Collecting. Your passion for collecting leaves, please.
I don't really remember when I started collecting leaves. I think it was in childhood. I don't remember the exact time, but first I loved the differences between these leaves. That I thought it was like special. Every one of them. Sorry for my English. So and later I was feeling pity for other ones. So I was collecting them too. And I had so many at home. My mom was so angry all the time.
And time. Well done. Very good. Your passion, please.
Okay. I know it's like weird, but it's not just loving picking the leaves. It's just I can't help it. If you come with me for a walk in Atom, it's like I cannot take one of these that are beautiful. I have a plenty, but I always think this one is like different or more special, and I have just to do it. So it's kind of that.
Great, well done. And finally, your passion for leaves.
So autumn is my favorite season of the year. It's not because it's my birthday, which was 2 days ago. Thank you. But also because of all the colors of the woods outside of Berlin where I live. So each year on my birthday, I go out to the woods and I collect one very, very beautiful leaf. And I put them all into glasses and put them up and sort them out according to color. And this year, I moved into a new apartment, and the first thing I did was put it on picture frames.
I don't know. I can guess, but I don't know. What do we think?
I think it's hard.
I'm torn between Tiona and I don't know your name.
Gigi.
Say again?
Gigi.
Gigi. Because I think you had a lot of detail and particularly like recent stuff that you've done that there was a lot of coherence to what you were saying and you tied it together very well. But what you had was emotion because you talked about the fact you felt sorry for the leak. I don't know if it's
driving your mum nuts with all the leaves at the end as well. And the thing with Tiona is just joy coming off you. Your joy is infectious. If you have a superpower as a communicator, it is your joy. Because it's infectious and you just draw us in.
And you look so natural and comfortable. Everyone else is again, hands in pockets, arms folded. Kind of,
just looked like you were in your own groove with all this. It's utterly compelling. But likewise, all your detail was fabulous. And it's, I can remember a lot of it. It's Berlin, it's put between glass, it's going up on the wall in the apartment. It's absolute storytelling, which is deeply convincing.
It's just a feeling.
Just feelings, no nothing on it. What about Stefan?
I think that is Stefan.
Why?
Because his stories are like not going out of leaves, but going out of collecting. So that's kind of like this continuous story. But also, his hand gestures is like he starts talking, and then it didn't feel like he was thinking about it. His fingers just started to form the things that he was thinking about.
But I'm thinking that several of the stories could be true, but it might not be their passion now.
We've started to realise the trick here is where we start to move into areas where we can talk about stuff that is our experience, and that then we can do that with absolute authenticity. So that's sort of the trick here. Go on.
I think it was Tiona because when she was recalling things, she was like looking up with her eyes, like she was actually recalling it instead of trying to persuade people.
So I think it probably should be you. I think we wouldn't be surprised if it was you. Would the real leaf collector please step forward?
Yeah.
And your joy of leaf collectors was the persuasive bit. You just played the game very nicely.
No, I'm thinking about that.
That's cheating!
Yes, she was so happy when I said it.
But we were also talking about it earlier. We could see her smile increasing. You're like, stop talking about this. You're going to give it all away.
So there we go. I've inadvertently got a workshop on how to lie, which I'm not quite sure was quite what I was trying to do. Do have a seat. Persuade us and tell. Here's the thing. You have a message which is true. You have a message which is true. And the way you put it across will matter. Because if you don't present it in a way that people go, I absolutely, with electricity and joy and everything else, believe in this. Then I so love what Tiona did there. Because her joy came through in spades. And that for us is infectious. When we speak about the gospel, we need that level of joy. But we also need the pictures. We need to have the storytelling. We need to have that ability to engage the audience, look them in the eye, make sure we're working our voice and the mechanism and all of that stuff as well. So just very quickly, what do you take away from that exercise? What was useful for you? What did you notice? What was helpful in your ambition to be better communicators?
I thought body language really mattered. So I could tell when they didn't really believe what they were saying.
Yep.
Or they were trying to make something up. Like I think if they were natural, it flowed well, it just made it more believable.
Yeah, absolutely. What else? Go on, Becca.
The more personal that it was to them, the more convincing it was to us.
Yeah. So here's the thing: when we give our preaches, vulnerability is an absolute superpower. When we give a bit of ourselves, that draws people in and people connect on that level. Vulnerability is a really powerful thing. It really is. If we stay closed, perfect and wrapped, guess what? The audience don't warm to us. If we open, we give something of ourselves, then absolutely people love that and they will go with you. Yes.
I think what you said before, the hand gestures, the eye contact, the joy, sort of here, I think are all infectious.
Yeah, really powerful stuff. It wouldn't be a proper seminar if I didn't use the 4-box model. So here is one. This keeps the scientists happy. So here we go. This is Amy Cuddy and Susan Fisk's research from Harvard, talking about warmth and competence. If any of you were here last year and did Michael Ott's session on presentation skills, I believe he quoted this last year. So Fisk and Cuddy basically said we assess people on 2 axes. Warmth, how kind are you? Are you going to be kind to me or are you going to be a threat? And competence is, if you are going to be a threat, how likely are you to be able to carry out that threat upon me? So warmth and competence. So here's the thing, we judge people on these two axes. Which one do you think is most important?
Warmth.
Yes, why?
Because it hits the emotion, not the intellect.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I was to ask that question of the academics, I think probably the answer would be different. They're going to say it's the other way around. But the truth is, both come into play. You could have somebody who is very low warmth and low competence. These are the people who just go, you're not very nice and you're a bit rubbish. And basically, we don't warm to them whatsoever. They are treated with contempt. On the other hand, do we know people who are just lovely? They are kind, they are lovely, lovely people, but they're just a bit rubbish at what they do. And we go, oh, I love you, you're so nice, you're so likeable, but actually you're a bit rubbish. So this is the people that we pity. Then you get the envy box, where these people are really low warmth. We don't really like them at all. They don't seem very kind. They're not very pleasant. They're just good at what they do, and we envy those people. But here's the box we really want to be in. This is the admiration box. This is high warmth and high competence. You come across as confident. You come across like you know what you're saying. You do it with absolute warmth, and we admire you for it. In Fisk and Cuddy's terms, this is the foolish jerk. This is the lovable fool, this is the competent jerk, and the lovable star. We all want to be a lovable star. And for the visual learners amongst us, there you go. Here's the thing, when you are under pressure, when you've got an audience in front of you, which one of those is most likely to slide? Warmth or competence?
Warmth.
Why?
Because it's... because it takes energy.
It does. It does. You've got to turn it on. It's got to be intentional to some extent. Yes, there's a degree of authenticity. Jonah being a classic example of that. But actually, it does take energy in order to come across as warm, to force a smile and to connect and do all those things that create warmth. Warmth is created amongst a number of different ways. These are all different ways that we can create warmth. And you will have noticed people speaking this week. These are all ways that people use warmth. And as you look at that, you will probably recognise ways that you do it. How do you hold your warmth?
You don't just mean in speaking, what do you mean?
Just in life generally.
Yeah.
We will pick up on your warmth. You know, you get those people who, they walk into the room, they go, oh, can I get a cup of tea? And all that sort of thing. There's the kindness thing. People who just, they don't say a lot themselves, they just give the gifts of listening. They're just really interested in other people. My friend Libby will always turn up with a present. Everybody's birthday, she'll always turn up with something. Real gifts person. Absolutely loves that. Some people just demonstrate through their warmth and the smile and the humour and the way they present themselves. Empathy, just really feeling what other people feel. It's a real superpower of some people around that. Giving people their time. You know, you get those people who just go, I just got to get out of here as quickly as possible. Some people will just give people time even if they haven't got it. That's warmth. Helping other people. This is a lovely one, the words of affirmation and encouragement. Many of you got that as a superpower around your warmth. It's a wonderful one to have. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we can depict this warmth in different ways. Competence is interesting because that's linked to confidence. And when that slides, again, we've got a bit of an issue, haven't we? Because if your warmth slides, you become the competent jerk, so that's a problem. If your competence slides, you're either lovable fool or foolish jerk, so you lose credibility. So this is about credibility, this is about how much we like you. But ideally, we want to pump both of those up so we become the lovable star all the way through. So that's what makes sense. Question is, how do we do it? And I love this quote from Maya Angelou. They'll forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, they'll never forget how you made them feel. So true. You think back to the youth leaders who influenced you when you were a kid, or the student worker who brought you to Christ, or whatever it might be. It's that warmth, isn't it? It's the thing that made the difference. Right, let's come back to our brain model. Your top left brain is going, what's your point? And wants something clear and concise. Your top left brain is going, well, why is it true? Give me some reasons why that might be the case. Then you've got your part of the brain that goes, well, I'm not going to do anything unless I can see it, and that wants the foam, the facts, the opinions, the anecdotes, the metaphors, for those of you who were in my last session. But then there's another part of your brain, the feeling brain, which really, what that wants you to do is go, can you make me feel something? And unless you feel something, you're not going to press that action button and do the thing that you're being asked to do. This is about your personal energy. Energy, at the end of the day, matters. How you present the message is really important. So let me tell you about mirror neurons. Mirror neurons were discovered at Parma University in the 1980s. They were some Italian neuroscientists who were monitoring brainwaves in macaque monkeys. And they discovered that when monkey A had an experience like eating a peanut, certain parts of its brain lit up. They also discovered that monkey B, watching monkey A, same parts of the brain lit up. So we experience energy and emotion vicariously. What do I mean? If I stub my toe, what do? You wince, don't you? If I yawn, what do?
No.
Someone in the room will start yawning in the next 30 seconds. Let's say you've been in some dreadful seminar that seems like it's gone on forever, and you've lost the will to live. Do you know people around you, if you spend 5 minutes in their company, everything feels fine again?
Or the other way around.
Yeah. Do you know people, you could be having a lovely day, feeling great, and you spend 5 minutes in their company, and frankly, you want to kill them, yourself, and everybody else. Yes, mirror neurons, we know what they're like. Okay, so here's you presenting, here's your group of students who've rocked up because they think it's a beer and pizza night. How much energy do you get back from the room when you are speaking? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much energy do you get back?
1.
1, I think it's probably fair, isn't it? And they're not there to give you energy. They turned up for beer and pizza and you're trying to give them the gospel. So they're not going to give you energy yet. They're just going to be sat there going, come on then, impress me. No energy back. Now, ideally, emotionally, what do you want them to feel when you're preaching? What do you want them to feel? Give me some emotions.
The joy that I experience.
Joy, yeah, joy. What else?
Insight.
Intrigue, insight, yeah, what else?
Maybe conviction.
Conviction, yeah, absolutely. Decision, enthusiasm, all of these different things. Now that takes, the point that you made, is it takes a lot of energy to do that. So how much energy do you need to push back the other way in order to get them to feel all those things? It is, in fact, a lot. You're right. So that's scientific. For those of you like to think like that. It is a lot out of 10. Now, here's the thing. What you need to understand is there is a war of energy in the room. Either you win with your energy, or they infect you with their 1 out of 10, and you go blah blah blah, Leviticus 6 or whatever it might be, and you start circling the drain. So you have to push enough energy back. What does that look like? Well, you could have too much energy. Hi, I'm here for the student union. And everybody goes, stop it now, stop it, it's a bit American, please back off. Or you could have too little energy. Have you ever sat through somebody's sermon where they presented with too little energy?
Yes.
How does it make you feel?
Soporous.
Yeah, they are literally putting you to sleep, aren't they? It's like a little euthanasia for you in the from the front. And we just switch off, don't we? So you really need to have enough energy. What does enough look like? It looks like you would rather not be anywhere else, speaking to anybody else, about anything else. In short, that you care. And that takes a fair bit of energy. And what you think is enough is probably not enough. We are terrified of this. But realistically, of all the people you listen to speak, what percentage would you say spoke with too much energy?
15.
The American ones.
It's very little, isn't it? Go on.
But I spent this week having to do a video, and I kept filming myself, and I was trying to put energy in it. And when I rewatched the video, I just thought it looked so fake. So
that's because there's different levels of energy.
So that's what I mean.
So energy in front of the camera.
I'm trying to do energy.
Right, if I'm in the 200 seaters.
So I'm not saying a lot of energy is bad. I think it's really good, and I
Yes.
see the UCCF people that they're really well trained and they do it fantastically. But then when I try and do that, I feel like it just seems so fake.
It's context. It's context. The reason why that feels over the top is if you're stood in front of the Apollo room and you've got 200 people in front of you.
Yeah.
You've got to bang a heck of a lot of energy. You found that last night, don't you? You've got to throw a lot of energy at people in order to engage them.
Yeah.
If you're doing it to camera, actually you can still have an awful lot of energy, but it looks and feels incredibly different.
Okay.
So what is appropriate energy? It's like, the pandemic hit and we all went on Zoom and Teams, didn't we? And if you threw the same level of energy at Teams, you'd do the, hi, welcome to the meeting. Everyone's going to be like, turn the volume switch off. It's appropriate. So probably what you were doing is you were throwing auditorium energy at a camera, which is why it feels too much.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's usually with camera, it's about intensity. And the old presenter's trick is you look down the barrel of the lens, you imagine somebody you like, and you imagine you're addressing it to them. And generally that will bring your energy level to about the right place for camera.
Can I say also, there's a great video on YouTube that Glenn Scrivener made about presenting to camera. So if you go on his YouTube channel, or the Speak Live YouTube channel, there's like a video about that.
Okay.
Because if you overbake energy to camera, it's like, whoa, it goes into too much. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So it's different in different contexts. It's a really good point, Colin. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
It goes further than that. There's a guy called Alex Sandy Pentland who is a professor at MIT, and he made a device called a sociometer, which is basically about the size of a mobile phone. And like a phone, it's got a camera, it's got a microphone, algorithms are spat out of it, it does clever stuff I don't understand. And he programmed it to measure charisma. Interesting. So basically, if you're wearing the sociometer and I'm chatting to Colin, it will tell me from the messages coming off him around body language and tonality, it will spit into the computer, does he have charisma or not? And what Pentland did was he went to 100 bright young things at MIT and went, who wants to be the next Zuckerberg? And they went, you please. And what he did, he got them to pitch their idea for an internet business to a group of venture capitalists. And he got the investors to wear his sociometer because he wanted to see, could he predict, purely based on enough energy, who would get back in? So out of 100, how many do you think he got right? Purely based on you're charismatic, I think they'll back you. You're dull, I don't think they will. How many do you think he got right?
Most.
A lot out of
a lot. I love this scientific term. Yeah, quantify it as a lot. Absolutely, it's a bell curve, isn't it? On one end, you've got, I don't know, you've got Zuckerberg, and you go, that's a great idea. It doesn't matter how dweeby he is, everyone's going to go, that makes money. On the other end, doesn't matter how much energy you throw at it, everybody goes, yeah, that's a dreadful idea, that's never going to work. But generally, in the middle is where you win on energy. I've coached enough startup founders and done demo days for startups to know that it's not always the best idea that gets backing. It's the one that does the best pitch. So the way you present that message absolutely matters. It needs to be enough energy to be persuasive, and what you think is enough is invariably not enough. It usually requires more. Impact. So this is Albert Morabian's research from the 1960s, and is usually misquoted by people who do my job. Morabian wanted to see, when someone communicates an emotion, what does it comprise of? So passion would be an emotion. Are you passionate about your faith?
Yes.
Do you love Jesus?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So there is emotion when you communicate your message. Okay, so when you're trying to communicate an emotion, I'm happy, I'm sad. He broke it down to what are the core elements? 3. Words we say, I'm happy, I'm sad. The way we say it, I'm happy, I'm sad. And the way we look, our body language, tonality of voice and body language. Which one do you think is most impactful when it comes to communicating emotion? Body language, tonality, or the words we say?
Body language.
Why?
I don't know, it just is.
Is it spoken?
Just a feeling.
That's not going to get past the academics. It's just a feeling.
Is it true that spoken communication is only like the words we use is actually only like 20% of communication or something like that?
Yes.
There's a saying, you're never not communicating, and it's very true. But when you're communicating emotion, it breaks down like this. According to Morabian's research, 55% is the body language. So the second you walk into the room, we go, what are we seeing here? How are you carrying yourself in? What's your body language doing? What's your face doing? What are your hands doing? How do you stand? All of that kind of stuff. That's there straight away. We gain an awful lot. 55% of what we understand about your emotion we get from the way you look. 38% is the tonality of the voice. Now here's the thing, only 7% conveying emotion is the words we actually say. But the thing is, you need to be congruent between what you say and how you say it. So if I stand here and I go, God, it's flipping brilliant being here with you lot this afternoon. What am I saying? What am I saying?
You're looking rather in the pub. You'd rather you were in the pub.
I'd rather I was in the pub, absolutely. So here's the thing, if your message can say one thing, but your body language and your tonality completely can be saying something totally different. Body language is so much of it. And we have a soap opera in the UK called EastEnders, which is basically a load of people who live in the East End of London who have a miserable life. And you can watch it with the sound turned down, and you still know they're all miserable just by watching it. You just see it in their faces. And likewise, if you see two people in a language you don't understand, and you see them having a massive barney in a cafe, and they're arguing, you totally get what's going on without understanding the words, don't you? So a lot of emotion can be conveyed through these three different elements. The visual, what do we see with body language, the tonality of the voice, the vocal, and the verbal being the words that we say. Now, obviously, when you're presenting a message, the verbal counts for more. This is just about conveying emotion. But like I say, if you love Jesus and you're passionate about your faith, you should be demonstrating that through body language and tonality. We've touched on some of it, but I think it looks a bit like this. These are the different elements. Emphasis. It's a little bit like you get your script and you're highlighting the keywords. What's the stuff that you really want to pop? And just slightly overmaking that emphasis, I think, can sometimes really keep your audience alive. The lovely thing about emphasis is it's just constantly engaging your audience vocally. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activation system, so I believe, that basically monitors on a moment-by-moment basis, is there a threat? So if someone stood at the front there going, hello, it's so nice to be with you today, it's a really lovely opportunity to talk to you about my faith and all that. And there's just no emphasis, there's no variation in pitch or power or pace or anything like that. What the reticular activation system does is it goes, oh, there's no threat here, I'll have a little sleep. And it just powers down again. Whereas when you're using emphasis, what you should be vocally doing all the time is going, oi, this is important. You really want to listen to me here because this stuff matters. And it's slightly overbaking that energy just to try and keep people engaged. What happens to your pitch when you get nervous? It goes a bit squeaky. So blokes end up being really squeaky and girls end up being only audible to dogs. So you've got an issue there. So again, it's about trying to pull that down and ground that. Same thing with power. Often, you just need to speak a little bit louder than the room demands. Now that is a slight oversimplification, and there are some people who are really quiet and they are utterly compelling. I had a friend, she was a missionary in Afghanistan, and I went and heard her do a talk. She's incredibly softly spoken. But it was electric, and the atmosphere in the room was electric. It's just she was softly spoken, and people had to lean in. But generally, there are gears that you can use. Some bits, yeah, you might want to go loud. Other bits, actually, do you know what? This is really important. And change that tonality. It's really important. Pace. What happens when we get nervous?
You speed up.
Absolutely, mouth gone mad. So here's the thing: pace in its own right is not necessarily a problem. It's if you don't pause. And when we pause, people have a chance to absorb what you're saying. So you can be quite quick, but if you pause, people have time to process what's being said. Really important. Enthusiasm, all of that can be demonstrated with this, but also just the way you convey yourself as well. Smile. This is the biggest thing you can do when you stand in front of a crowd, is just smile at them. So important. That's how you create warmth, 99% of the time. And when we get a bit nervous, we go back to a slightly frowny face, and it's less engaging. When you smile, it changes the tonality of your voice. Eye contact, we've talked about that. Kennedy Sweet, make sure you're connecting with everybody. Feet, shoulder width apart, like you're on skis. Stand up, position yourself well, and then these things, they can move, they can paint pictures, they can convey emotion. And these are really powerful for communicating message. What's the difference between this? You can have product A. Product A is low quality but low price. Product B is high quality and high price, but what you ideally want is the price of product A with the quality of product B. You can have product A. Now, product A is low quality. It's also low price. On the other hand, product B is high quality and it's high price. Ideally, what you want is the price point of product A with the quality of product B. Can you see the difference that makes? There you go. Yeah, do you see what I mean? When your gesture makes sense, again, that becomes very engaging and draws people in. Gesture lines in Commedia dell'arte was Italian theatre. If your hands are down here, this feels a little bit irrelevant. Feels like it shouldn't be there. What's going on with this? This was what they called the position of the Pope, the position of truth. What I'm saying here really matters. This is truthful. And when your hands are here and you're speaking in truth, again, people are persuaded. Up here, these are the passion gestures. Yeah, if your hands are up here, I'm really passionate about this stuff. This really matters to me. So truth and passion are great places for your hands to move. This torso area is probably where the hand should be. Up here, this is very gastronomique. And out here, I'm basically a lunatic. So doing that is really important. There's also another really important factor around this. When Shakespearean actors started performing Shakespeare, they discovered You had different types of characters. You had the slightly foolish characters, and they found that in order to create those foolish characters, it was a lot of movement, it was a lot of energy, it was all out here and all that stuff. Kings and queens, they discovered the power and the authority came from stillness and silence. In essence, kings and queens don't move. So if you want authority on stage, sometimes it is just about holding stillness and using silence. And it absolutely gives you authority in the space. Does that make sense? Great. Just turn to the person next to you. Where do you feel you need to dial stuff up? Where do you feel you're strong? Where do you think perhaps you could get a little bit better still? What time did we finish this seminar, by the way?
Past.
Oh, no, leave more time. Here you go.
We can finish early if you want.
No. Laura's had enough of me today.
6:30, I think.
Great. Okay. Just stand up for me if you would. Stand up for me. Just some practical stuff which might be quite useful around posture, breathing, and voice. So if you can stand with your feet hip width apart, imagine you're on skis, and just stand and let your weight go down. Don't stand on stage and do that. No, okay. So feet shoulder width apart, like you're on skis, and just feel your weight going down through your legs into the floor. So you like that. I would love you to imagine you've got a piece of string which is pulling you from the top of your head upwards. So just feel that elongation in your spine. So your weight should be going down through your feet, but your head should be moving up towards the ceiling. But wonderful. What we've now got is good posture. Relax your shoulders. Colin, you're holding about 2 inches. There you go. About 2 inches of tension in your shoulders. So just relax those right down. Okay, that's your position of neutral. Great. Can you just breathe in for me? And then breathe out. Okay, now a lot of you are doing this. So you're mechanically heaving. When we are babies, we very instinctively breathe from the diaphragm muscle, which is down here. Are we all familiar with the diaphragm? It pulls down, ribcage opens, air comes in. It's when you get a little baby, you see the whole ribcage open, you go, wait for it, and then they go, oh, and they make this inhuman noise that can fill an auditorium. And then we get older and we find it hard to create that kind of sound. The reason being that we stop breathing from the diaphragm. So as soon as I say to take a big deep breath, you will go, you sort of heave mechanically from your chest. Just place your hand on your diaphragm, which is down here, it's just below your sternum. And then when you breathe in, I've got a well paid for belly, so I can show you this. This is years of lager and a sweet tooth. So watch this. My hand moves away from my body, I breathe out, goes back in again. All the movement should be there. That's diaphragm. That's where you create voice from effectively. And getting your voice rooted from your diaphragm will start to give you real authority in the space. So just feel that diaphragm. In a moment, I'm going to get you to breathe in for 3, hold it for 3, and then just let the air out. Like that. So just push the air out your lungs. When you're out there, breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, and just let it breathe out through your mouth. Great. Keep your shoulders relaxed, breathe in again. Take your hands out of your pockets, Tom. Let your hands go outside. Okay, hold it, and breathe out. Okay, let's take it into a little bit of sound this time. So I'm going to get you to breathe in, hold it, and then you'll go shh. Like that. When you're out of breath, take another breath in. Good, shoulders not moving, and then breathe out again. Great. Just letting that little bit of sound go over your vocal cords, you are immediately starting to warm up your voice, which is a good thing to do. Because if you're going straight from, I haven't said anything, to in front of the crowd going, hello, you like to strain your voice quite quickly. So just warming your voice up is a good thing. Right, sound is produced in the mask of your face, ideally. So the sound should be coming from this sort of area. You've got resonations around your mouth area. It's a big hole there that can create sound. Sinuses as well. Hello there, up here. Scousers in the UK, I want to speak up here in the nose. So that's a very nasal sound up here. So that's nasal cavity with sound effects. There's also your head register as well. Because your skull is porous, you get sound creating here as well. But what a lot of people do is they create the sound in their throat. And can you hear how strained that is? And if you speak like that for a period of time, it will wreck your voice. So the idea is, can you bring your sound forward into the mask of your face? And the most effective way to do it is humming. So in a moment, I'm going to get you to breathe in, hold, and then breathe out again. But just put your fingers lightly on your lips. And what I'd love you to do is try and get your lips to tingle. Woo! Okay, not in a Christian conference. There'll be no tinkling here. So just breathe in, and hold, and hum. Can you feel that? Should feel like you got a bee in your mouth. Everybody got a tingle? No? Okay, good. Let's take it up into the sinuses. So again, we're going to breathe in again. Just go like this for me. That sound is where you're trying to get your hum. Okay, so we're going to take a breath in, hold, and then hum. You feel that? No? Okay, yeah, great. It may well be, if last time you didn't get the hum on the lips, you might find that trying to take it up into your sinuses will take it to the lips. So the idea being that you're trying to bring the sound forward. If you do that 3 or 4 times in the shower every morning, eventually you will start to get your voice to come into the right place, and you will find that you will have a very different resonance around the way your voice is created. How many of you feel that your voice is in your throat a little bit? A lot of the time, yeah. So that humming, Becca, will absolutely bring it forward and give you that authority. And then you can start to make a fairly loud noise when you need to, because you've got that support. Breathing from down here underpins your voice, and then it allows you to create that sound. Great. Just pair up with somebody else and find a space. Find a space with somebody else. Wonderful. We'll just do this to finish. Earlier on, you all thought of a convincing reason. 30 seconds of I love trains, I love leaf collecting, I love whatever it might be. So just remember what you said. I want you to stand one person in front of the other like this. So I can use you two as an example. Just take a step back. So you're about a metre apart. Decide who's A and decide who's B. So you're facing somebody else. Someone's A, someone's B. There might be a 3. Make a 3 if you need to. Make it a triangle. That's fine. Okay, so A's, you're going to do your 30 seconds first of all. I won't let it go the full 30 seconds, but 30 seconds of what you did, your persuasion. I'd now like you to do it with as much energy as you think you can muster. I would like you to do it with over-the-top levels of energy. And B, if you are listening, if you do not feel it's over the top, I'd like you to do that. I'd like to do that. Until you feel that they sound ridiculous, okay? On your marks, get set, go.
I love.
Yeah.
I have a collection. I wanted to expand my
Okay, pause. Did anybody actually hit a level of ridiculous?
Yes.
Just about. But here's the thing: you thought you were on Mars, and they were still going like this. Because actually, it takes more than you think it does. Right, swap over, go the other way around. B's turn this time, and A's, you get your own back if they've not got enough energy. Like that.
11 years.
So when I was living in so many.
Okay, back to A, same thing. A's this time. I'd like you to do it as a whisper. So it's really intense, as intense as possible. And just see again what that does to the energy. Go for it.
When I was a teenager, my dad used to take us to missions down.
Great, pause, swap over, same thing. B's, do the whisper. Great, pause. What did you notice?
A lot more hand gestures.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom used a lot. There were fewer hand gestures.
Focus on the face and the delivery. Absolutely, it draws you in. What else do you notice?
I felt more comfortable.
You feel more comfortable?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. Let's make you feel uncomfortable. Back to A's. I'd like you to sing it.
No way.
Go for it. You're amongst friends. Okay, pause. Swap over. Okay, I'll pause. I'd love to say there was no point to that. That was just by pure sadistic pleasure, but there was a reason for that. Last time, back to A's. I'd like to do it, but without any speaking at all, just purely through facial expression and gesture. Go for it. Great. Interesting. Swap over the other way around. Swap over. Great, good. Pause. Great. Let's go back to A again. This time, I would like you to do it with enough energy. And B's, I'd just like to notice what's the difference now. Let's just see how they do it with enough energy. Go.
So I like to play things. I started out with like little dots on the back. And I saw everybody used to play with them. And then I think
Pause. Swap over. Last time, swap over.
I thought that was so cool.
Wonderful. Have a seat, folks. Have a seat. Let's round things off. Have a seat. Wonderful. What did you notice that last time? Because I was doing, for those of you old enough to get this reference, I was doing a bit of Karate Kid here, wax on, wax off, slightly Miyagiing you with the singing and the doing it without speaking. Because what I'm trying to do is the singing, I'm trying to get you to engage with the musicality of your voice. By taking the words away completely, I'm getting you noticed the gestures just went really big, didn't it? You suddenly connected with what your body was capable of doing. And then said, just do it with enough energy. Some of that, I think, probably then sunk into what you did the last time round. What did you notice? Was it compelling?
Yeah.
Did it feel like it had enough energy?
Yeah. Felt natural.
When you delivered it felt natural. Thank you, Peter. Did it feel natural delivering it?
Yeah. Much more.
Yeah.
More than the other types around.
Did it feel hard work? Did it feel like quite exhausting living in that level of energy? Okay. Interesting. You're in your groove. You throw enough energy at it, you probably should feel pretty tired afterwards, actually, because it is costly, particularly if you're an introvert. Coming in there and going, right, we've got to bring some fire at this point, bring some energy. It will be costly, it will be exhausting, but actually it's intentionality. Confidence we can create in the moment. If we have more time, I do this, but there's an exercise I do where I give you a number and I ask you to walk in that level of energy. If you have a bigger space, we do it. And it's interesting, you shout 1 and everybody goes like this, and you shout 10 and everybody starts walking around like this. We can create confidence. We can do performance all the time. It's intention, it's something you can switch on. It is a choice, confidence. Performance is a choice. And a lot of people say to me, oh Tim, you're an actor, of course you can do performance. But the truth is we perform all the time, don't we? Let's say you've sat through some ghastly seminar and go home and all you want to do is mainline Netflix for the evening, and then whoever is at home goes, oh, we've got people coming around for dinner tonight. You go, ah! And then they tell you who it is, and it's like, oh, not them. And then the doorbell goes, you're by the door, you open the door, what do you do? Hi! all of the time. We perform all the time. The truth is, there is a version of you round the bar on a Sunday afternoon with your nearest and dearest that is the most authentic and compelling version of yourself. And the trick of presenting is take that authentic version of you, the real you that your nearest and dearest see, just turn up the dial a little bit on the energy, stick it in front of an audience, and you will be at your most compelling and your best. But it's all choice. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. We're pretty much out of time, but what are your questions?
You've covered visuals, apart from one, which is what to wear.
Oh, right. Well, I'm clearly not a fashion expert, so
Pink.
I'm sure I'm pink.
Yes, but for instance, Glenn was pretty trendy last night.
Depends-
That makes him a standard.
I think there is.
You less so.
You went there.
But I mean, then it's an important question. What should you dress? And I know that depends on your audience.
Yeah, it does. Well, here's the thing, if you're addressing a student crowd, if you turn up dressed like a student, to be honest, best will in the world, that ain't going to work. But equally, you don't want to turn up looking like their granddad either. So it's about finding something that kind of works that's comfortable for you, that connects with them. And it's about respecting your audience to some extent as well. If I'm working with an investment banker, I might actually dress a bit smart. If I'm going into a tech company, if I turn up in my smart shoes, then I don't fit in. So it's about being appropriate for the audience that you've got, I think.
A rule that Moral Pastor had is slightly smarter than everyone else.
Yeah, I know. I always
Not
say
everyone else,
be
yeah.
the smartest person in the room. I've not worked with
Just.
that today, but yeah,
But
just.
because
Smartest
like,
person
I
in the room.
have known people come and speak at student things, and to me they feel overdressed, and I think students do feel a little bit like, oh, there's a high and mighty sort of thing because they're dressed too smartly, or like, because some level of smartness does instill some confidence, I think, with students, but you don't want to go too far,
Yeah.
otherwise they just
It's
switch off and they're like,
appropriate, isn't it?
you do look like your granddad or your dad.
Yeah, thanks. I remember I was doing a gig in the City of London, so I was suited and booted in the morning, and that was appropriate for that particular audience, otherwise don't take it seriously. In the afternoon I was working in Indeed, the tech company, the recruitment company, and I walked in there and I was wearing these sort of fairly smart penny loafers, and this guy looked at my shoes and you could just see, why is he wearing that? Who is this guy? And my mate who brought me into work there went, have you got different shoes? Well, I've got my trainers in my bag. He went, put them on. And so it's just, what's appropriate culturally. Yeah.
I know that there are studies when it comes to the voice of women, how it has what effect it has on the audience. And so I wanted to ask, because you can train to lower your voice, and I think especially in the beginning of the talk it's important to start lower, but how can you do that without ruining your vocal cords?
Yeah, I think I struggle a little bit with that, because I think, what message is that if you're saying to women, can you try and sound more like a man?
No.
Because that's what happened to Thatcher. They said, just be down here, Margaret, and you'll have more gravitas to take on these men. And I just think, embrace your femininity. My thing is, if you are producing your voice from here and it is in the mask of your face, it will not be uncomfortable. It becomes uncomfortable for an audience if it's in the throat and it sounds painful in women. That's where that is more acutely difficult to listen to than it is for men. But if you're well supported in the diaphragm, I think you speak in your natural pitch, the natural way that you speak, you just support it properly, and then you absolutely have gravitas and presence.
And it's a good way to summarise that. It's less about pitch and more about depth.
Yeah.
Because where you're speaking from will
Yes.
affect the
Yes.
like tone and depth and
Yes.
richness of your voice as opposed to just the pitch.
Yeah, it's richness of voice. Becca.
I just did it then. I'm really bad at fillers, so kind of those kind of words.
Like,
Yeah,
all that
all
stuff.
the time, and I really want to try and stop doing that, but I struggle to. I do it without realising.
Yeah, part of that is because you're quite a fast speaker.
Yeah.
You aware of that?
Yeah.
So partly it's slowing that down, shorter sentences, and pausing.
Okay. Yeah.
And when you start using pauses instead of fillers, and you train yourself to do that,
Okay.
you'll find the fillers will reduce,
Yeah.
and the pauses actually just give you more gravitas at the moment. Tom?
An observation I made by Glenn Scrivener is he does use fillers, but he's changed his ums to okay or right. Actually, Glenn said that loads of times. He said okay, like
Yeah, he does.
constantly.
But that's just, it's a different filler.
Yeah, but it's better than like okay is way better than So
Yeah,
as in that's good. As in that was a compliment to Glenn, because I thought that was actually really quite clever.
We all have them, and a lot of the time they're cultural. My son at 9 keeps saying like, stop saying like, and trying to knock it out of him. And it's just, once you're aware of it, you can start to work on it. Becca is what I would say. And just be intentional, but speed and pause are often the way to defeat it. I would say. And just I've done things before when people do fillers, and I just go, right, if they do a filler, we're doing a Mexican wave for the rest of the audience. So start them going, way, way! And then after a while, because they don't want to get that, they stop doing it. So it's intentional practice.
Can you fill in the first part of your story from what you said on the first night about, you said that you ran off stage.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome your stage fear and get into it? Did you go into acting? Did you?
I did end up doing the theatre degree, actually. That's where I ended up.
All right, okay. And
think
that's
it
how
was
you
just-
got into communication.
To be honest, Linda Clark did me a massive favour, because I thought actually I could have given up. And it was the way she said to me, you need to do it again. And I remember the next day in school, it was an English class, and I offered to read my essay, because I just knew that I needed to do it again as quickly as possible. It's get back on the horse. Nerves, there's physiology around nerves. Can I borrow you a second? It's Andrew. It's Andrew, yeah. Andrew is a caveman.
He's getting you back for the fashion sense.
In all goes in my bumper book of grievances for later. So Andrew is a caveman. He's been hunting and gathering. Worst caveman ever. All the small creatures have run away from you. All you can find to eat are the berries on the bush in front of you. So you start picking the berries. Not the red ones, they're poisonous, the blue ones. Excellent. Yep. Suddenly, can I borrow you? There's a rustling in the bushes, and out jumps a fearsome saber-toothed tiger with a mighty roar. Do the roar. Excellent. Scary on so many levels. Andrew the caveman sees the fearsome beast, no offence. What's he going to do? Not like that. He's a lover, not a fighter. Yeah, absolutely. Fight, get his axe, spear, whatever, get stuck in. What else might he do? Run away as quickly as possible. What else might he do? Scream. Yes. And freeze on the spot. Absolutely. Fight, flight, freeze. It's adrenal response. There's a shot of adrenaline which goes through his system. Blood rushes to his muscles. It equips him to either fight or run away. Because the blood has gone to his muscles, there's less floating around his neocortex, the thinking part of his brain, so he's there going, and he can't think what to do. That's important because if his brain was still functioning, his neocortex was still engaged. We go, oh, red berries, they're poisonous. If I can get one of this mouth, it'll be just going to get you eaten quicker. So he has to rely on that fight, flight, freeze. The other thing he might do is just run into the crowd and then hopefully the weaker one gets picked off at the back. That's the flocking mechanism as well. So these are sort of adrenal responses. Thank you very much. Have a seat. So this happens when you speak in front of other people, because basically when you are there and all eyes are on you, you are prey, aren't you? And at that point, the adrenaline goes, fight, flight, freeze. So you either, I just speak really quickly because I want to get off as quickly as possible. Or you've got all that adrenaline rushing through your body, you can't let it go anywhere. So then it starts coming out in sort of nervous twitches, playing with your eyes, fiddling with jewelry, all that kind of thing. I was coaching a girl once, she had a really long plait and kept playing with the end of it. Have you ever seen Avatar? Yeah, I thought she was going to plug it in a horse. So it's stuff like that. That stuff becomes deeply fascinating for an audience after a while, utterly detracts from what you're saying. So here's the thing with nerves, it will come out in some way. Planting yourself still and letting it come out through your gesture and your voice will always be better. But actually it's the breathing thing that then regulates the adrenaline in your system. You calm down, your neocortex is able to operate again, and you're much more likely to be effective in what you're saying. So the breathing is really, it's the key to everything. It's voice, it's controlling nerves, all of it needs to be there. We're out of time. Go on, shut me up.
Leave it there. That's okay. I'll get a reputation for running over otherwise, which I think maybe I already have. But thank you very much for coming. Just a reminder, the next session will be at 8, so that's the next thing. But if you do have any questions for Tim, I'm sure.
Okay, right, yeah. Really good.